To say that 2020 had a negative impact on music this year would be an understatement. The current pandemic has made it harder for artists to get into the studio to record, and with tours being cancelled, that meant that a significant amount of their income was gone as well. Albums and songs were delayed, and the dread of dealing with everything this year made moments in music we would normally be hyped for seem underwhelming. However, we got some great music. Albums and songs that took the themes of the lockdown, social justice, the political climate, and more, made them into 2020's most memorable music. However, since 2020 has been a historically bad year, it only makes sense that some historically bad albums came out this year as well. A good amount of music released this year has been, in my opinion, either just average or flat out horrendous. But today, I will be talking about what I consider to be the worst album of 2020. And that album is Moon by Kid Trunks. Before we talk about the album, we need to talk about one day that changed the history of music forever. Okay, I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but trust me on this one. The date is June 18th, 2018, and this news comes out.
Deerfield Beach, the rapper XXX Tentacion has been shot, apparently targeted while shopping for a motorcycle. Chopper 4 was over the scene on North Dixie Highway near Sample Road. The Broward Sheriff's Office says they got a call about the shooting at around 4 p.m. They say the rapper was transported to an area hospital where the Sheriff's Office says he died.
XXX Tentacion's passing sent shockwaves across the world because of his rising popularity and impact on rap music, bringing both emo rap and SoundCloud rap to the mainstream. After X's death, his estate promised that music would come soon and his legacy would stay alive. It did not. However, his friends and colleagues did a good job honoring his message. X was a founding member of the rap collective Members Only, and some members of the group, such as one of his closest friends, Ski Mask the Slump God, put together songs and or performances honoring him. Some members. Kid Trunks is a rapper from Florida, and was an early friend and collaborator of X. I personally found out about him when his track I Don't Know released back in April 2018. I Don't Know sounds like most SoundCloud rap songs released around that time, with dark, edgy lyrics, a lot of hi-hats in the production, and a music video with a ton of guns. Trunks is most well known for his work within the Members Only collective, with tracks like 777 and Gassed Up being his most popular. The style of these tracks were found on his debut album Super Saiyan. Trunks kept it simple, and he did what he was comfortable with. He focused on making the same sound of music that his friends were, and didn't try to delve too deep in making music on serious topics. Until he did. Have you listened to an XXXTentacion album? Let's use his debut 17 as an example. It opens with an explanation of what the purpose of the project is. The following tracks delve into topics such as love, depression, suicide, addiction, and more. Typically, X sings or raps over melancholy production, but changes up the style and his vocal patterns in certain cases, and especially in his second album, Question Mark. Question Mark featured forays into different genres or styles of rap, with collaborations with a myriad of different artists. It's quite easy to see the X formula when it comes to his albums. He opens with instructions, quote unquote, and the rest of the project is him exploring many different sounds. And it did work pretty well. X's albums were decent and did a good job tackling serious subjects. So how hard can it be to make an album that sounds exactly the same like 17 or Question Mark? It can't be that bad. You just need a good sense of emotion, a good singing voice, and I give you my soul. Oh no. The intro to this album is along the same vein of X's intros in his albums. A set of instructions and a foray into what this listening experience will entail. Now, there are a couple subtle differences between this intro and X's. The first being that Trunks goes into a rap verse. It has some issues. Other than the mixing on his vocals being awful, the lyricism and performance here are underwhelming, to put it nicely. Granted, while the X intros were definitely cringy, and you could tell he thought a little too highly of his work, you could feel the emotion coming out of him, and as you listen to the rest of the album, you do see life through X's eyes. However, with Trunks, you do not. Everything about this intro fails in its purpose. The lyrics are so bland and basic that they don't make the listener feel any kind of way. It just comes off as Trunks went on Twitter and found a 15-year-old girl's tweets and just rapped them. In addition, Trunks' vocal performance does not scream, "This is urgent, I need help, I'm sad, They ask how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand. Trunks sounds like he was woken up by a phone call and is trying not to sound like he just woke up. The ad-libs he uses don't make sense at all with the song's energy, and it causes the transition between lines to become muddled, and since Trunks stumbles his lines anyway, it becomes more and more of a mess. The parts where Trunks also talks to the audience directly aren't that great also. Kid Trunks assuming that we've waited a long time for this project is one of the best displays of idiotic arrogance since when the creators of the Titanic said, "God couldn't even sink this ship." The ending of the song is more laughable cliches. I want you to hear. I want you to feel. But I also want you to feel more than you hear. And it has one of the boldest claims I've heard any person make. And I hope this project can aid or cure any depression or negative energy in your life. Well, listening to Moon has done the opposite. Thanks, Kid Trunks. However, this intro is actually effective because it shows you what you're getting with this project. A low-effort, low-quality carbon copy of an X record. This problem plagues the entire album, as we'll see with the later tracks also. The album then transitions into its second track, Obia Child, Obia Child, Obia Child, I don't know how to pronounce it, featuring Bass Santana, a fellow member of Members Only. Santana does a good job with this feature. His singing voice is pleasant, and his lyrics aren't laughable. In all seriousness, Santana's section of the song is the best, and you can tell he put some effort into it. Then we get to Kid Trunks' part of the song. Whoo boy. On the hook, Kid Trunks shows off his bad singing voice, and I applaud this man's confidence in making his lack of ability to sing not stop him from making music. Good job, Trunks. However, once he gets into his verse, we get one of the most confusing sets of lines in rap history. Young Thug, Aesop Rock, the Backstreet Boys. Rap music has had multiple artists who have manipulated words and phrases to give us pure enigmas. Today, a new rap legend joins their ranks. Let me read you the first 4 lines of Trunks' verse. What is the real definition of loyalty? Is it your blood or is it your trust? That's a conversation you and your mind discuss. But in real life, you know, trust is a must. A couple things. Trunks almost comes so close with some impressive deduction on the concept of loyalty. Is it your blood or is it your trust could talk about whether those within your family or close friends have an automatic sense of loyalty to you or you to them. Or does one need to build that sense of loyalty with others by trusting them over time? What a conundrum. Only for Trunks to come in and tell us that this riddle is a conversation that's in our mind and that in real life trust is a must. What? So, the question in the second line is only valid if we are thinking of it, but in real life, it is obvious that the definition of loyalty is trust, not blood. Is Kid Trunks implying that family and friendship does not immediately beget loyalty? And we as people should be hesitant to become loyal to people just because of our proximity to them? Or maybe Trunks just didn't really pay attention when he was writing this. This is apparent in the next set of lines, in which Kid Trunks flexes on us by saying, I can never stop, so I just ball at the Pistons. Pistons most likely refers to the NBA team, the Detroit Pistons. So the correct way to say that line would be, I can never stop, so I just ball like the Pistons. Using like is better because it conveys that Trunks is balling like an NBA team. But saying at the Pistons does not make any sense. How can you ball at someone? Imagine if this line was for an individual member of the Pistons. I can never stop, so I just ball at Blake Griffin. Maybe it just means that he will beat Blake Griffin or the Pistons at basketball? If this is the true meaning of this line, why didn't he say ball on? Using the preposition at indicates a location. The Pistons are not a location. They are a group of people. If he brought up the arena the Pistons play at, then the line would make sense. Because of Trunks stumbling over his words in this verse, this line sounds even worse than it reads. The final couplet of lines in this verse are also interesting to say the least. Trunks flexes about having a girl, and that she'll do anything for him. And what is the one thing that Trunks wants his girl to do for him more than anything else? To do his dishes. Alright, I mean, most rappers want girls to do other things for them, but, maybe Trunks just doesn't want to do a common, everyday chore. This is especially an odd request because Trunks states that when he wakes up, his girl will wash all of his dishes. You thought earlier that I analyzed his lyrics too much? Well, strap in. Why does this girl wait until Kid Trunks wakes up to wash his dishes? I understand not wanting to make a ton of noise, but how late does Kid Trunks wake up? How early does his girl put his dishes in the dishwasher? Does she wash them by hand? Why do all of his dishes need to be washed? Has he neglected this for so long? How many people does he live with? Does he not have a lot of dishes? There's just so many questions here. You know what? Maybe Trunks just needed a word to rhyme with wishes. I need to stop looking too deep into things. The rest of the song is just random lyrics that don't have any relation to whatever this song's topic was supposed to be, with Kid Trunks' uninteresting rap voice and laughable singing voice just taking away any meaning from it. The third track, I Don't Know What's Going On, is a somewhat upbeat rap song about something. I say somewhat upbeat because since most of the songs are either depressing or low-key in production, this one has to be considered positive because it doesn't focus on dark topics. And I say about something because, as the title states, I don't know what's going on with this track. Across most songs on the album, the lyrics either have little to do with the theme, aren't consistent within the verse, or seem like they are just thrown in together because Trunks needs a rhyme. There's not much to talk about with this song. Lyrics such as, "You act so fake, it's like reading a fable," are game-changing, but other than that, this song is just bad. There's nothing noteworthy about it. However, this does seem like a good point to talk about another main issue with this record. I've talked a little bit about how bad Trunks' singing voice is, but his rapping voice is unbelievably boring. It doesn't have any distinct properties, and it just sounds like he is just talking. Also, his flow and ability to ride the beat is just not there. It's like he doesn't even hear the instrumental when he's in the booth. In the moments he does try to rap, he just stumbles over his lines and it comes off super awkward. To get back on topic, I do want to give props to the featured artist Mikey Moore. His verse is good and he definitely sounds competent on the mic. But other than that, this track is just not worth talking about for a while. Makeout Hill is the fourth track and starts with a simple drum pattern. It sounds like a loop that comes from a free trial of GarageBand. The chorus of the track is awful. I've already talked about Kid Trunks' voice, so the only new critique I have is an extension of when I mentioned that he stumbles over his words when he raps. When Trunks finishes the first part of the chorus and says the line, "And when you're feeling on me," the second time he starts repeating the chorus by saying the line, "I keep my circle small and tight." This typically wouldn't be an issue. There are a lot of songs that would have an artist say one line before they finished another. Problem is how early he says the second line. In a good chorus, the artist starts to repeat the line when the final line is almost over, maybe when 2 or 3 words are left. Trunks starts repeating the chorus when he is 2 words into the final line. In context of the song, he starts to say, "I keep my circle small and tight," when he says the word "when" in the final line, and this causes it to sound like Trunks is just talking over himself, and you can't make out, get it, what he's saying. The verse has some odd moments as well. The opening line, "I got all my wishes and they swimming with the fishes," could be a reference to the dishes line in "Oh Be a Child." It is safe to presume that the thing swimming are the dishes in the sink. The one good thing about this album is that Trunks is able to tie things together. He also continues the aquatic animals theme by saying that the diamonds in his grill are as wet as a manatee. Nice. Overall, this is a pretty short and inconsequential track that's about love, I guess? As always, the lyrical content just seems random and it doesn't fit with whatever Trunks intended the song to be. The fifth song, Habibi, is one of the better cuts on the record, which isn't saying a lot. It's still not a good song, but it's more well structured than the other tracks so far. It feels like some time and energy was put into making this track, and it shows in the way it's laid out. Sure, the actual content of Habibi is lacking, but at least it's in a good format. However, this song having a chorus, multiple verses, bridges, etc. is also why it isn't that good. Trunks does not have the ability to make a song like this just yet. This song is one of only 6 that reaches the 3-minute mark, and Trunks can't fill up that amount of time with interesting lyrics, ideas, or anything. This causes the track to become boring during the first verse and feel longer than it really is. Of course, we have more lyrics to make fun of, as all of these lyrics are just so, it's amazing. That's all I really have to say about Habibi, but this song is a good point to go a bit more in depth about the lyrical content of Moon as a whole, and also tackle a common critique of albums that have depression as its main concept. A certain reason why people don't like certain depressing music is because of how blunt the lyrics can be. I remember X's first album, 17, being criticized for having overt lines of suicidal tendencies and depression. Now this problem that people have is, in my opinion, misguided and should be targeted at other examples, with this album being one of them. I do understand wanting to listen to a song or project that delves into these topics creatively, using similes, metaphors, and other figures of speech that express the artist's mental problems poetically. However, straightforward lyrics are also important in this style of music, and in my opinion, give us a better look into the artist we are listening to. If in real life, someone is depressed and you had a conversation with them, they won't dress up their words the way musicians do. They will tell you how it is, and when that is applied to music, then it gives a reminder that the person we are listening to is a human like us, and is going through a deep, dark episode that we might be going through as well. It connects the listener and the artist together, and as you're listening to their words, you can not only see yourself in their shoes, but also interpret the lyrics in your own personal life. I think that the energy used to critique blunt lyrics should be used to critique lyrics like those found on Moon, which are vague and uninteresting, and don't really give us a good view into Kid Trunks' life. Sure, the words used in Moon do have some semblance of sadness and pain, but when they are put together, it doesn't really feel like much of anything. The lyrics read with no real emotion behind them, and add Trunks delivering these lines like he's reading a newspaper out loud, none of this record communicates the feeling it's supposedly based on. Backseat is an interesting track on this album. I've been trashing Trunks' vocal delivery, but on this song it sounds different. I don't know if they pitch shifted his voice, but it doesn't sound like him. Now this doesn't mean Trunks sounds good. I mean, obviously he doesn't. No amount of audio tricks could do that. He has just gained the ability to flow on the beat. But sadly, Trunks squanders his new gift with, once again, meaningless lyrics. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this song in particular shows the pure laziness that went into the writing and structuring process. The way the verse just devolves into a repeating chorus before the actual chorus begins is a clear sign of this. This track doesn't have much more to talk about, so I'll just move on to the next one. Lavender is a love song, right? Well, when you first listen to it, you would say so. In fact, the chorus is really cute. And then the verses hit. Oh boy, the verses. This song, which is supposed to be about being in love with a girl, does not have a single line in either verse that the girl would find romantic. In fact, I would argue that most, if not all girls, would find the song to be possibly offensive. There's a part in the first verse where Trunks asks his girl if she is sad or depressed. This is a good sign because it shows that he cares about her, but then his solution to this is to put his heart inside her chest? The same heart, mind you, that is suffering through the depression and heartbreak that this album is based around. If this wasn't bad enough, it's sandwiched between him trying to convince her to be friends with benefits if she doesn't want to get serious with him, and him saying that she looks unlike any other girl he's seen. He literally hits her with that, no, don't kill yourself, you're so sexy, ha. Imagine if these lines played out in real time.
Trunks, I am not too sure we should be together. No, that's fine, but we can still, do the devil's cuddle, That's all I real want. What's wrong? Is you sad, or depressed or something? Cause, if you is, I can thrust my hand deep into my chest, tear open my ribcage, and grab my beating heart, rip it from my body, and eat it right into your chest. What? That's what I thought. Anyway, damn girl, you is finer than anyone I have seen up to now.
Later on in the verse, Trunks brings her beauty back up again, but this time makes sure to flex about himself. Anytime that I look at you, I feel cool when I don't need to. When does Trunks need to feel cool? Why does he feel cool when he looks at his girl? Is he taking his girl's beauty as something to boost his self-esteem? Kinda weird, but it's not as strange as the second verse. The second verse, in a song about love, does not have a single line regarding that concept. This verse switches from idea to idea about caring in the world for any consistency. The first couple of lines are about how Trunks is evolutionarily better than you, even though he gets the concept of survival of the fittest wrong and deems his mental acuity as a reason to not care about his physical health. At least he's got the spirit. The verse then goes on about how to live your life and how to be a better person. After Trunks tells us to follow our purpose and work, he then talks about causing absolute havoc and violence on the world. This animal of a man is blow up like a C4 bomb, and if you want to smoke with him, he has it at home with barbecue sauce. And if you run up on him, you might get popped like a Tylenol pill with bullets flying through your neck and your... Oh, let's just move on with the rest of the verse. Trunks says to stop talking about the violence and that we shouldn't have any trust towards anyone, especially the fake news and the lying government. This is a love song, remember? But hey, he doesn't mean to get too deep with it, so he just goes back to what's most important. He sings the chorus one more time, and the song ends. Hey ladies who are watching this, be honest. Listen to this song and tell me. You're definitely in love, right? I mean, Trunks is such a ladies man, bro. Get Away was the lead single off this album. It's about how Trunks is out of a relationship and is trying to forget about the girl he was with who broke his heart. I don't know if this was intentional, but it's funny that Lavender is the track that precedes this one. One common compliment I see about this song is how it sounds like an X track. That's true. The lyrical content and delivery sounds like something you would find on Question Mark. Of course, the song would be better if X was performing it. If X made it, I feel like the song would be a bit more engaging and personal. There's not a whole lot to talk about with this one. Lyrically, it doesn't have much to pay attention to, and it has a surprising amount of open space on it. Do You Know What Is Right is the collaboration with Noah Cyrus, the third most talented Cyrus kid. It was also produced by a collaborator of Kanye West named Ant Clemens, who was on All Mine from Ye, and multiple tracks from Jesus Is King. Ant and Noah are talented artists, but even they can't make this song good, which is sad, because judging from the lyrics, this is a song that goes through Trunks' pain and coping with X's passing. However, it could also be inspired by a relationship, continuing a trend in the track list. This track is supposed to be an emotional ballad that causes you to feel the pain both artists are going through. However, the vocal chemistry between Trunks and Noah is non-existent, which ruins the immersion of the song. When they sing together on the chorus, Noah, who is doing a good job, has to try to harmonize with Trunks, who, as we talked about before, can't really sing like this. I know I've been bashing Trunks, but I do commend him for trying to make this kind of music. He currently does not possess the voice to sing at all, but it's good to see that an artist branch out and try new things. That being said, his opening line on his verse just sounds so off-key, and even on Noah's verse, she hits some sour notes. This track could have really been something if there were better vocalists on it. The song is pretty well written, minus a couple lyrics that could be made a bit more evocative. I know I brought this up last time, but imagine if X and another female vocalist were on this song. It could be one of X's best. This just shows how much Trunks can weigh down a potential beautiful piece. Let's talk about what an interlude is. It's a short passage in between tracks that bridges the gap between ideas or provides a bit of rest or reflection. When an interlude comes up on an album, traditionally how long is it? Around a minute or so? How about one of the longest songs on the album at 3.5 minutes? Well, maybe this interlude has some importance to the overall theme of the album, right? Let's take a look at the lyrics. Okay, we have a verse here. Kind of vague lyrics like always, but it's something. What else do we have? Oh, it repeats. Alright, well, maybe this is just mislabeled. This is probably just the chorus. Oh no. This verse repeats the same set of 6 lines 5 times. No breaks in between vocals. As soon as one set ends, another one starts right up. The instrumental doesn't change all that much. Throughout the song, different instruments appear for a couple seconds, but then fade away. So, what is the point of this? Why was the song stretched out to be over 3 minutes? It's labeled an interlude, so it could have just consisted of an instrumental intro, the original verse plays, and when it ends, the instrumental slowly fades out. Who listens to this song in its entirety? Has Kid Trunks ever listened to this song all the way through? The length of this track makes it seem like there was a minimum time the album needed to be before it could be released, and they've randomly picked one song to extend. If that's true, then why not write more lyrics? Why not add more to the instrumental or do anything else? This interlude is the perfect reason why this is the worst album of 2020. The lack of care for quality that went into this project is baffling, and it feels like Trunks and his team just recorded everything in one shot and said, oh, we're done. In fact, it feels like Trunks has existed in a vacuum, and the only pieces of music he has ever listened to are Skins and Bad Vibes Forever. This track seems inspired by Bad Vibes in particular, because of its lack of material being stretched out to make a full song. However, this record wasn't made with random snippets left on the cutting room floor. It was made with an actual person providing vocals in real time. It's sad the level of artistic bankruptcy this project reaches. It doesn't even feel like a commercial studio album. It comes across more like a random SoundCloud mixtape your friend made for a joke, not something from a quote-unquote professional artist. So the last track was labeled an interlude, despite being one of the longest tracks on the album. Naturally, the track following directly after it, I Love You, is the shortest track on the album. Of course. I Love You is the point where I realized that this album isn't just laughably bad, it's downright horrendous. This track is nothing but wasted space. The songwriting is not fleshed out. It sounds like Trunks was just vocally riffing in the studio, and they accidentally were recording the whole thing and thought, well, we shouldn't waste anything. This song is the embodiment of true nothingness. It takes time, effort, and discipline to stay focused and listen to the entire thing. Once again, we get a spoken word segment that is just meaningless. Once you come across an obstacle you feel like you can never overcome, the ones you feel like you can never get across, those are the ones that teach you the most. All the pain, all the love that you have given and have never received back the same, everything happens for a reason. I want you to learn from your mistakes and better yourself so you can be prepared for the future and whatever comes to you. I love you. What? What the fuck? In this section, there are so many incomplete thoughts, it becomes frustrating. But the worst thing about it is, I'm not convinced. Judging by how low effort and lazily made the rest of Moon is, why should I think that Trunks put any care into these lyrics? I know that Trunks doesn't care about me personally, we've never met, but on an album where he made the messaging of it so personal and talks directly to the listener, it's obvious that it's meant to be relatable to the audience. He even says in the intro that this project is meant to cure your depression, and now that I've reached this point, every piece of advice he has given has just felt empty. I'm not going to harp on this point for too long. The clear intention of this record is not what Trunks says. If you are hoping this record will help with your depression, please use literally anything else. All I'm saying is that if you're claiming to care about your audience's problems, you need to actually make that clear in your performance and lyrics. If not, that is extremely dangerous. You can't lie to people who are struggling with their mental health and need help. We are at the home stretch now. Fly Away is a song about love? Or something? It opens with an instrumental with an off-sounding drum beat, and the open notes of Trunks' verse are just off. It sounds like they tried to fix his voice during production, but instead of directly editing it, they added another vocal track of auto-tune. They might have also messed with the instrumental, as it sounds like they delayed the drum beat when he finished the first line. It comes off as awkward, like there was meant to be another word in there, but Trunks never says it. Like most tracks, this one doesn't have much in terms of the content department. The featured guest, Anthony Flamia, starts off okay, but as his verse goes on, it sounds like there's something stuck in his throat and is desperately trying to get out. This becomes more distracting as the mic picks it up, and you can hear the audio clip as he sings. There's not a whole lot more to say about this track, so I'll wrap this up right now. Love and Positivity Anthem. Let's think about that title for one quick second. When you hear that, what would you expect? An upbeat song about what's good in the world and how we should be happy? No! Have you not been paying attention to everything going on right now? The song opens up with these lines. I can feel it in my heart today that you never really cared for me. You know, maybe this is meant to be ironic. Maybe Trunks has become conditioned to consider hate and pain as what love really is. He has been through so much heartbreak that he has normalized it. And now he takes the hurt and morphs it into love? Honestly, if this is true, props to Trunks because this is both a cool concept, and it does make me worried about him. Hashtag pray for Trunks. However, judging from the rest of Moon, it's probably just another low-effort track that was shoddily thrown together in a couple minutes. The track also suffers from a ton of empty space, with the whole second half dedicated to Trunks singing, whoa, and ooh. Also, he coughs in the intro. I know that over the course of the video, I've repeated multiple points. Vocal issues, lyrics, productions, etc. But on ID, Trunks provides us with something new. He screams on the track. Is it good or exciting? Well, no! I think when done right, screaming is good in certain songs. The abrasiveness and volume of one's voice can deliver a performance that is very powerful and emotional. On this song, Trunks utilizes this potential very poorly. There are a couple problems with Trunks' screaming, so let's break them down. Number 1. The style of this song does not mesh well with screaming. The track features an understated instrumental and vocal performance from Trunks. So, when Trunks begins to scream in the background, it clashes with the aesthetic that has been presented. If the song was more intense and the lyrics were more cutthroat, then I would understand the screaming. But this is a song about, I guess, being betrayed by someone you love, which is a common song topic across this album. I don't know, man. Screaming just doesn't make the most sense here. Number 2. I mentioned this before, but the screaming is in the background of Trunks' verse. Now, typically, this wouldn't be that big of a problem. There have been times where artists have used screams as backing vocals, but let's talk about the vocals that the screams are backing. I know I bring this point up a lot, but Trunks sounds tired and bored when he raps/sings. So when he screams, which you naturally associate with energy, it doesn't have the same impact it would because of how mellow Trunks' rapping voice is. The verse weighs down the scream's intensity. Another issue that was found first on the intro track is present here, that being the ad-libs, in this case the screams, end up muddling the verse and make it hard to understand what he's saying. It creates a wall of noise that is just not pleasing to the ears. Me, Myself, and I is the emo ballad on the album, if there hasn't been one already. It has the guitar, the sad lyrics, and the vocals for it. If only the vocals were good. If only. It sounds like Trunks is suffering from a cold, but hey, the show must go on. This is the most goofy he sounds on the whole record. Other than his voice, there is nothing really memorable about this track. I guess we can talk about the song structure a bit more. Moon does borrow ideas from X's previous albums in this regard. Now, X's song structures weren't always that good, and Trunks somehow decided to pick the worst ones and base his album on that. The verse on this song is just a chorus repeated twice. It leads to a track that isn't that engaging or fun to listen to. Song structure is important because it gives the listener a roadmap through the song and helps neatly tell the story that the artist is conveying. Experimenting with song structures is a risky gamble, but when it's done well, you get some amazing music. When it isn't done well, you get stuff like this. I don't really know if you can consider this experimenting, but you know. The song never really gets going because of how it's written and laid out. It just feels like I'm listening to Trunks mumble to himself as he does the dishes, but only if his girl doesn't fulfill his only wish. We are finally here. The outro to Moon. Although this isn't the last song on the project, but whatever. For the final moments of a deep and introspective record, there's no big revelation or harrowing moment that ties everything together. It's another song about love. At least Trunks can stay consistent for some of the track list. Once again, we have a song that lyrically is just an anomaly. Trunks tells his girl, "I will be the light that you seem to like." What do you mean seem to like? Do you not know what she likes? And what light are we talking about? Just light in general? You dating a vampire, bro? Lucky. Let's keep reading. The way you make me feel feels better than entering the gates of heaven. Knowing you've been accepted after all the things you said, after all the things you did, after all the sins committed. Okay, just a couple things right there. I'm just gonna say it. There is no girl in this world that can mimic the feeling one would get when they make it to heaven. Maybe that's just the pessimist in me coming out, but I just feel like entering heaven is at least the best thing that can happen to you. In addition, this feeling is amplified because even of Trunks' past problems, he didn't expect to either get the girl or get into heaven. Now, I do see the parallel. Typically, if one has a very sinful life, it is tough for them to make it to the pearly gates, and Trunks relates to this dense theological concept that you should have looked a bit more into because of like forgiveness, whatever, to getting with the girl of his dreams regardless of his past. I mean, it's a bit bold to compare those two things, but to Trunks, I bet he's more focused on one than the other. E-Wave is the final track on the album. Thank God. It's also the first one in a while with an actual structure to it. Good to see that we got the best for last, I guess. It also has an almost consistent theme throughout the song: taking drugs. The chorus is about the dangers of it and the mental and physical toil it can have on your life. The first half of the verse continues this theme, going into detail of Trunks choosing to stop popping pills after having a particularly bad episode. Then the second part of the verse is about how he gets mad women and his wrist is iced out, boy. Yeah, I shouldn't have been expecting anything great in terms of content, but I was honestly disappointed when Trunks went off track. I guess because this was the only moment where he could have had a very personal and in-depth performance. Drug addiction has had a sad and fatal part of rap culture for many years, and especially recently we've lost many artists to it. So when we get a track that touches on this topic, seeing it devolve to a typical rap song is just sad. Ultimately, this disappointment is just the nail in the coffin for this album. Moon could have been at least tolerable if Trunks put more effort and thought into the messages. Because of Trunks' lack of talent, this album was already at a massive disadvantage in terms of quality. So when Trunks just wastes time with filler, or by not even rapping, it makes the project feel more and more useless. This album is bad. Like, seriously bad. It's a ton of empty space and baffling decisions. It's an embarrassment, and I don't know how it was allowed to be released. Why would Kid Trunks allow his name to be on it? If I'm trying to really make it in the rap game, I would not want to release a project as abominable as this. I don't understand what's going on recently in hip-hop with artists just dropping bad, forgettable projects, but here we are. 2020, baby! Speaking of 2020, this album is actually the perfect allegory to this year. A massive disappointment that has been consistently boring with the occasional very rough patch or just bewildering moment. Hey, thanks for watching the video. This was my first one, so if you enjoyed watching, make sure to like and hit the subscribe button. It's pretty simple, and it really helps me out a lot. If you end up not liking the rest of my content, you can always feel free to unsub. Thanks!